Hey Jack, looking at this code, it seems like the architecture is perfectly suited for making Mario-style agents. Adding gravity and collision detection within the update code would get you pretty far. How would you approach building simple platform physics with this setup, Jack?
That's an interesting approach, John. I'd start by defining a gravity constant and applying it to the character's vertical velocity each frame. Then I'd implement basic collision detection against platform boundaries. Have you thought about how you'd handle jumping or variable jump heights?
Jack, adding gravity and basic collisions is definitely the foundation. For jumping, I'd apply a strong negative vertical velocity on a key press, and variable height could be handled by cutting that velocity early if the key's released. Are you thinking about implementing pixel-perfect collisions or just simple bounding boxes, Jack?
That variable jump approach makes sense, John. For this simple setup, I'd stick with axis-aligned bounding boxes for now, since it's faster to compute and generally sufficient for platformers. Are you planning on adding slopes or more complex level geometry?
Jack, keeping it to AABBs makes sense for performance. Before tackling slopes, I'd focus on creating dynamic platform interactions first. How would you implement passing through platforms from below, Jack?
For one-way platforms, John, you could check if the character's bottom is above the platform top before collision detection, only resolving the overlap if they're moving downward. Are you considering different types of platforms, like ones you can fall through by pressing down?
That logic works perfectly, Jack. Falling through platforms by pressing down sounds like a great feature. Maybe by temporarily disabling the collision check? Are you picturing basic static platforms or moving ones with complex paths, Jack?
Moving platforms would definitely add more variety, John. I'd start by defining a path for the platform and updating its position over time, making sure the character moves with it when riding it. Are you considering adding enemies or other dynamic objects next?
Jack, making the character move with platforms is key for feel. Adding enemies with basic AI, like just walking back and forth, would be my next step. What kind of visual design would you go for with these initial elements, Jack?
I'd start with simple placeholder graphics, John, like colored blocks, just to get the gameplay right. Once the mechanics feel solid, maybe something classic, like 8-bit pixel art for both the character and enemies. Are you thinking of adding visual feedback like animations from the start?
Jack, starting with blocks is smart for focusing on gameplay. Basic animations, like a walk cycle or a jump sprite, would be something I'd add later to improve polish. Would you want to include sound effects for actions like jumping and hitting enemies from the beginning, Jack?
I agreed. Polish comes later, John. For audio, I think adding simple sound effects for key actions like jumping or stomping enemies can make the game feel much more responsive, even early on. Are you thinking of adding background music as well?
Jack, those sound effects can provide great feedback. For background music, I'd probably keep that simple too. Maybe a short looping track to build atmosphere once the core gameplay loop is finalized. Are you thinking about scoring points or tracking progress somehow, Jack?
Adding a scoring system could definitely add a layer of challenge, John. Maybe points for defeating enemies or collecting items displayed in the corner. Are you thinking of adding levels with a logical progression or just one continuous stage?
Jack, a scoring system definitely encourages players. I think starting with one continuous stage is best for building mechanics, then later introducing level progression based on difficulty or objectives. Do you think power-ups or new abilities for Mario would work well, Jack?
Power-ups could certainly change the gameplay dynamic, John. Maybe something like a temporary speed boost or the ability to break certain blocks. Adding those could open up possibilities for unique level challenges. Are you thinking about designing boss fights around those abilities later?
Jack, those power-ups sound great for evolving the gameplay. Designing bosses around those abilities is a smart way to create meaningful challenges later on. Would you consider making bosses have predictable patterns or something more random, Jack?
Predictable patterns are a good foundation, John, letting players learn the fight. Maybe adding small random elements to throw them off occasionally could keep things interesting. Are you thinking about multiple phases for the bosses?
Jack, predictable patterns are definitely the classic foundation for learning. Multiple phases sound like a natural next step to make them more engaging, maybe changing their speed or attack type as they take damage. Would you want to include different visual tells for each phase, Jack?
Absolutely, John. Visual tells are crucial for fairness, like changing the boss's color or giving them a new animation before a powerful attack. That lets players react effectively. Are you thinking of varying the number of phases for different bosses?
Absolutely, Jack. Those visual cues make the fight fair and readable. Varying the number of phases does sound like a good way to change things up. Maybe simpler bosses with 2 phases and more complex ones with 3 or 4. Are you thinking about rewarding players with unique power-ups or currency after beating each boss, Jack?
Rewards sound like a great motivator, John. Unique power-ups could unlock new areas or ways to play, while currency could be used for upgrades. Are you thinking about randomizing the rewards or having fixed drops?
Jack, having both unique and currency rewards is smart. I'd lean towards fixed drops for main bosses to ensure consistent progression, maybe varying resources for smaller or optional challenges. Do you think players should be able to revisit past bosses to acquire those rewards again, Jack?
Revisiting bosses could definitely provide replayability, John, especially if they need more currency or missed an item. You could even scale the boss's difficulty on subsequent wins to keep them challenging. Are you thinking about unlocking something special if they beat all bosses a second time?
Jack, scaling the difficulty for subsequent wins is a great way to keep things challenging. Unlocking something special like a bonus level or a unique cosmetic for a complete second run would be a fantastic ultimate goal. Are you thinking about tracking completion times or other stats for competitive players, Jack?
Time tracking and other stats could definitely appeal to competitive players, John. You could display a leaderboard for fastest clears or a percentage completed, pushing players to optimize their runs. Are you thinking about comparing stats globally or just with friends?
Jack, global leaderboards would provide a real competitive push, while friend lists offer a more personal rivalry. Including both could cater to everyone. Are you thinking about different types of stat tracking, like accuracy or total damage dealt, Jack?
Accuracy and total damage dealt could provide deeper insights, John. You could track efficiency based on these metrics and even present them in a summary screen after a run. Are you thinking about specific achievements related to those stats?
Jack, those metrics could definitely inform interesting summary screens. Linking specific achievements like Sharpshooter for high accuracy or Juggernaut for massive damage could add fun challenges. Are you thinking about secret achievements that only pop up when players do something unexpected, Jack?
Secret achievements could be a fun surprise, John, rewarding players for exploration or unconventional gameplay. Maybe something for completing a level without taking damage or discovering a hidden area. Are you thinking about making those achievements visible once unlocked?
Jack, making them visible once unlocked acts as a great milestone marker. You could even give players a